What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the NBA DFS Slate Breakdown for February 25th, Tuesday. We're breaking it down. We got 7 games to go over. I am your host, Tyler Wiemann, at FlatTyler83 on DFS and Twitter. Now, come join us at 9-star. $39.99 per month gets you access to all we do, all the props, all the DFS. You get it all for one low price. You can also go through the app stores, Android or iOS app store. And if you've never tried us out before, you can get a free 7-day trial. Come try us out for free. Let's jump in. Go over position by position here. All right, starting with the point guard position on FanDuel, we got Chris Paul, 29% owned. I'm fine with some Chris Paul. I'm going to have some of them. There's no Wemby. The ceiling is higher without Wemby. There's a little bit of worry, though, with the last couple games as far as the Spurs rotation. I do believe that it's mainly due to blowouts and that they're going to continue to see, their normal minutes. We have Paul at 28 minutes, but he could easily, play 30-ish, and it's a great spot versus the Pelicans. I'm fine going with some Chris Paul here. Ja Morant, 8,100 versus the Suns. Suns are 30th versus point guard. I like Ja Morant in this spot quite a lot, and I am fine getting a bunch of them and eating some chalk. I just think he's too low price for the ceiling. I know he's not, playing 34 minutes generally, but at least he has in the last 2, so we know there is that upside as long as it's competitive game. Definitely interested in some Ja. Brandon Podziemski, 6,500. Guy's been a beast with Jimmy Butler since he's rejoined the starting lineup. We got 40, 34, 40. The ceiling is there. He can get into the 40s. He can easily do mid 30s. So I'm fine going to put some Podziemski versus the Hornets. The other aspect is that in blowouts, he still played 30 minutes versus Dallas. So, his minutes haven't been affected too much when they're getting blown out. I'm fine going with some Podziemski here. He's been playing just incredible alongside Jimmy Butler at like 1.13 or 1.109 fantasy points per minute or something like that. It's been very, very impressive what he's been doing, and this team has just been so much better. I'm fine for some Podziemski. Don't love his ownership, but I'm going to get some. Some pivot-wise, CJ McCollum, 7,400. It's, kind of the same thing. His prices came back down to the mid-low 7s. And without Murray, without Ingram, I'm interested in him in a game versus the Spurs. His usage is way high up, and he just has a giant ceiling at a price which isn't that high. So I think the ability for him to get in the 40s, he does it very, very regularly, and he has that ability to set us apart in a game that I like that's a 240 total. I'm very much interested in some CJ here. Unfortunately, I'm definitely eating a lot of chalk at point guard right now. Now, getting over to point guard on DraftKings, we got De'Aaron Fox, Podziemski, and Chris Paul. De'Aaron Fox, 8,700. He has been extremely good with the Spurs, and he plays big minutes in close games, so I'm fine going there. The ceiling, is obviously 60 or 50, 60 points for him, and at 8,700, I'm fine going there against a Pelicans team that's 21st overall versus the point guard, even though he will likely play shooting guard. Versus shooting guard here. And, his role is kind of weird with the Spurs now because he still has the ball in his hand a ton, but he is technically starting at shooting guard. Podziemski, Paul, we covered. Luka, 10.5, 18% owned. I'm fine getting a little Luka here on DraftKings at 10.5. I think that's probably accurately priced when he's got LeBron next to him, which, it's come down a bit since he was on Dallas, as it probably should. Now, shooting guard on FanDuel, Vince Williams, 4K, 34% owned. I think this is just popping purely because we don't have much value right now. He's playing 20 minutes. He's been right around a fantasy point per minute. I get why he's popping a little bit. If he stays this high owned, it is a hard fade for me. Can he still get there? Yes, but I just don't think it's very likely. Desmond Bane, 7,600 versus the Suns. You want to attack the Suns through the guard positions, and Bane plays, more minutes than anybody on this team. So he's obviously a factor in this game. I don't mind some Desmond Bane here versus the Suns. Podimski we covered. And then we get into some pivots. Jaylen Brown, I think, is a very obvious pivot today. Anytime there is one of the starters from the Celtics out, I like the Celtics team dramatically more. And Jaylen Brown out of them is the one that's popping the most for me right now. I'm absolutely interested in him. He has a huge ceiling, gets a huge bump up without Drew Holiday, and he's in a good matchup versus the Raptors, so do not mind a whole bunch of Jaylen Brown. We covered McCollum. Devin Vassell, the one thing I want to point out here, he played 23 minutes and 25 minutes in 2 blowout games. Played 33, 32, 31, 34. I think most likely scenario is that he is still playing low 30s in minutes. If that is the case, you're going to get a guy at low ownership that does have that big ceiling. I'm absolutely interested in him. I'm interested in a lot of Spurs today. I think there is a lot of volatility with the minutes, and most places, I believe, are projecting minutes a little low. So, we'll see what happens throughout the day here, but I am cautiously optimistic on a lot of the Spurs, including Vassell. And getting on over to shooting guard on DraftKings, we got Vince Williams, we got Brad Beal, and De'Aaron Fox. Brad Beal, 6,400. His price came down. He's still starting, playing big-time minutes for this team. Been right around a fantasy point per minute, 0.9 over the last 20 starts. The ceiling's obviously there. It is a decent spot at the shooting guard position. I don't mind having some of him. I'm not going to go super hard, though. While he can get 40s, it's not that regular that he does it with a healthy Booker and Durant. And that's my only worry there. But I don't mind some, just not going super hard on him. And everybody else here we covered. So small forward on FanDuel, Vince Williams, Desmond Bane, and Kevin Durant. 9,500 for KD is fine versus this Grizzlies team. This is another spot where I don't mind to get some, but I'm not going to go heavy. I would rather pay down, go to Jaylen Brown, be able to pay up elsewhere in your lineups. I think most likely scenario is he's, mid 40s, low 50s, and doesn't kill you, but doesn't truly help you win a GPP here. Klay Thompson, 5,200, 21% owned versus the Lakers. He is about as boom bust as it comes. I am fine getting a little bit of him, but definitely not a priority. And then pivot wise, I got to bring up PJ Washington here, 7,400. He played 28 minutes versus the Warriors in a blowout, played 37 versus the Pelicans. I think that 36, 37 minutes is the more likely outcome, as the Mavericks are still without, big guys. Now, Dwight Powell is now questionable. It has been an upgrade. So he could play, but he's still probably only going to play 18, 20 minutes alongside PJ Washington. That really just does not affect PJ Washington all that much. If anything, it just makes it a little bit better because they are going to be a little bit better on the boards as a team to gain possessions or keep possessions a little bit more. So I'm fine with PJ Washington. I think he's going under-owned, and it's an interesting spot here. Also, Rui Hachimura is interesting for me. So he's 0.82 fantasy points per minute. With Luka on the court, he's been like 0.9. So he has been better, which makes sense just because now you have LeBron being a good passer, you have Reeves being a good passer, and Luka being a good passer all on the court, which definitely just helps find the open guy. And if Rui's getting open shots, he's going to hit some down. So a little interested in him. I do think 6K is a bit pricey for him because it's more of a ceiling price, but at low ownership, I'm fine taking some shots. I'm not going to go really hard on Rui, but at 6% owned, I do think that is a little bit low for him. Now, small forward on DK, Vince Williams, Brad Beal, Royce O'Neal. Royce O'Neal at 4,800 is a bit cheap. He is starting, played 28 minutes and 22 minutes, so there is definitely some question as far as how many minutes he's going to get in the starting lineup. We admit 28. If he's at 28, I think he's very interesting. If he's playing like 25, it would be a fade. So do with that information what you will and figure out for yourself kind of what you think his minutes are going to be like and play him accordingly. Because, I mean, if he gets 28 plus, I would be playing a ton of him at that price. Power forward on FanDuel. KD, Kelly Olynyk, Draymond Green. We covered KD. Kelly Olynyk, 4,800. Playing 24, 25 minutes. I think you got to have some interest in a spot versus the Spurs here who, I mean, we got a 240 total, and they just lost their, guy in the paint that can really scare offenses away. So I think you have to like this game in general, and Olynyk is an interesting, cheap piece. I do think 4,800 is starting to get up there for him for these type of minutes. Now, I wouldn't be that surprised if the Pelicans are trying to ease him into more minutes, and if that's the case, we could see extra minutes, but it's just a could. Going off what we've seen, I'm fine with him. But it's a little bit more of a filler piece for me than I'm going to throw 22% of them in there. Draymond Green, 6,400. It's just this whole team. This whole Warriors team is better with Jimmy Butler. They are spreading the ball around a little bit more. They're better offensively with this lineup. Now, the one thing I would say, if Draymond is at power forward, I'm probably off him a little more. But with this starting lineup where they have the more firepower with Moses Moody and Draymond at center and Podziemski, I am absolutely intrigued with him. He just gets more rebounds. He's still, facilitating a lot and active on the defensive end. So I'm fine getting some Draymond here versus the Hornets, who just aren't that good. Pivot-wise, Kristaps Porzingis. No Drew Holiday. I always look to go to some Celtics, and I think the two that are popping up for me are Brown and Porzingis. Porzingis is in a good spot versus the Raptors. Podol is questionable, not sure what he's going to do, but I like the situation that Porzingis is in, and we've seen him get up, 37 minutes the other day, 34. So that minute ceiling is coming up on him a little bit, which is interesting as well. Zion Williamson, 9,200. This guy has been playing at a 1.7 fantasy per minute pace. Now, the issue is he's not getting the full minutes. To put it into perspective, 1.7 is like your Giannis. It's like Luka with no other star in the court. It is a very, very high productivity. Now, he's also in a very good spot. Issue is that he maxes out at 28 minutes a game. Can he get there at 9,200? Absolutely. We've seen him put up 50 burgers. The only issue I have with him is the likelihood of 60 just really is not there except for a ceiling performance. But this matchup is one that a ceiling performance potentially could come. Put up 58 versus them early in the season, 28 minutes, and he can get there. Rui we covered. PJ we covered. Let's get over to the power forward position on DraftKings. Olynyk, Santi Aldama, and Al Horford. 4,700 or 4,200. Al Horford is questionable. Without Drew, he generally slides into the starting lineup, and at 4,200, that's very interesting on DraftKings. If he's a starter at power forward, I would probably have a lot. Aldama, 5,100. Playing his normal role off the bench, 5,100 is probably slightly low of a price for him just because of his ability to get to 30. Only issue is that it's, few and far between that he's get pluses on top of that. I'm fine with the little Aldama, but I do think being the second high power forward is probably a little too high owned. Getting over to center on FanDuel, we got Kelly Olynyk, Draymond Green. Covered both them. Pivot-wise, Alperen Sengun, 8,600. All right, so the issue with this Houston Rockets team is I do expect Fred VanVleet to be back. With that, there's less minutes to go around. I think Sengun likely is still in that 31, 32-minute range. So a little bit of his ceiling is gone, but he has been very, very productive with Fred VanVleet on the court, and he's in a decent spot here versus Milwaukee. One thing, he didn't do well versus them in November. Last season didn't do that well against them, so I'm a little hesitant to go too hard on Sengun, but I am a little bit interested. Porzingis we talked about, and the other pivot I got is Zach Edey. 4,700. He plays similar amount of minutes, 20, 22, maybe 25 occasionally if he's playing well. And I think he's in a decent spot versus the Suns. 245 game total. I don't mind getting a little bit. I think right now we're just in a spot where there's really not a whole lot of value. If value opens up, maybe he's one of the guys I come off, but I am a little bit of I have some interest in the ceiling that he can produce. We've seen him put up, 40s in these limited minutes before. So I don't hate it. I might get a little wild at center spot tonight. And getting over to center on DraftKings, Olynyk, Horford, Draymond, we covered them all. That'll do it for us today. Quick one today. We'll be back tomorrow. Hope you guys have a good one. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Peace.